Okay, so in this video we're going to take a look at using the filters on the online race guides. I've chosen the 525 at Chepstow from the 15th of June, which is a good handicap race with plenty of runners and plenty of prior form. Before we look at the main filters section, it's useful to note there is an additional filter down the left hand side of the main race card. This column of blue ticks can be used to include and exclude individual horses from the horse form and all form sections below. This is especially useful if there are non-runners in the race that should be excluded from your analysis. In this case, I'm going to exclude Castlereagh Tess as the horse is a non-runner. Now I'm only including horses that are expected to run. I can move on to using the filter section below. These filters will apply to the form lines on the horse form, all form and summary tabs. It's possible to show or hide the filter section by clicking anywhere on the header row, like this. Once expanded, you can see the filter section consists of time filters, horse filters and race filters. First, we'll just take a look at how the unfiltered data is presented. So we can select a specific horse from the race card by clicking on that horse's name. You can see which horse is selected by the blue colouring of the row in the details section. So I'm going to choose Autumn Splendour, and if we scroll down to the details section, you can see Autumn Splendour's rows are all coloured blue, unlike the other runners. Now if we switch to the horse form tab, you can see how we have trading data and horse form benchmarks for Autumn Splendour and the individual form lines for Autumn Splendour in the horse details section further down. Here is the trading data and horse form benchmarks section for Autumn Splendour. You can see the horse's name in the header there, and then the horse details. You can again see Autumn Splendour is an Irish horse, 4-year-old at the time of the race. And if you press the header there, you can also see who the trainer is, who the owner is, who the jockey of the day is, and the sire, the dam, and the dam's sire. Again, you can hide this header or show this header as required. So if we go back to the All Form tab, we can start to apply some filters to this data. So first let's have a look at the time filters. There are two options for filtering based on time. It is possible to look at either form from the last X number of runs, where X can be specified in the entry box in the number of runs section, or by number of days worth of form before today's race date. Here there are options for 30 days, 90 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and the default selection of 5 years. Using the X number of runs filter, if I enter 5 in the box and click enter, you can now see in the filters section that the filter has been applied. Number of runs 5, and you can see in the form section below that we are now looking at only the last 5 races for each runner. So 5 for Autumn Splendour, 5 for Fantasy Justifier, 5 for Grandstand, and so on. You can remove any filter by clicking either the circled X to the right of the filter's definition, here, or by clicking Reset to remove all filters in the filters header section. Next, we'll look at the date filter. Here you can see if I select 30 days, then the 30-day filter is shown as applied in the header, and in the form section below you can see that only runs from the previous 30 days from today's race date are now shown. When the selection marker next to any filter is circular, this means that only one of the options can be selected at any one time. Here you can see if I change between 30 days, 90 days and 6 months, but I can only select one of the options at any one time. Now I'm just going to reset all filters so that I'm looking at all the data again. Okay, so now we're familiar with how to apply and remove filters, I'll move on to a brief overview of the horse filters and the race filters. So first, the horse filters. The finishing position filter allows you to choose from form lines which include only wins, only places, wins and places, or if the horse was unplaced. The speed rating section allows you to choose form lines where any horse achieved a speed rating between lower or upper values that you specify. To apply this filter, select from, enter your lower and upper values and hit enter. Now you can see I've only got speed par ratings between 50 and 70. Again, I can remove this filter by either the circular X or by pressing reset, as there's only one filter I can use either way. With the par filter, you can choose form lines where each horse achieved the class par speed rating or better for each prior race, or where each horse ran lower than the class par for that prior race. Next, the days since last run filter allows you to select more than one option at once. This is indicated by a blue square checkbox. Any filter with the blue square checkbox can be multi-selected. Days since last run are grouped into 0 to 7 days, 8 to 14 days, 15 to 21 days, 22 to 28 days, 29 to 42 days, 43 to 56 days, 57 to 90 days, 91 to 150 days, and over 150 days. The filter applies to each form line and looks at the number of days that have elapsed since the prior piece of form. Next, the headgear filter allows you to enter a range of headgear options to include runs where the horse was either wearing that headgear or wearing that headgear for the first time, or wearing any headgear for the first time. The options for entry are NOHG, which filters to include races where the horse wore no headgear, or any HG, which filters to include races where the horse wore any headgear. B filters for blinkers and shows races where the horse wore blinkers. ES for an eye shield. H for a hood. T for a tongue tie. V for a visor. P for cheek pieces, or WS, and it's important to have this in capitals, so WS must be capitalized, for races following wind surgery. Adding a 1 after any type of headgear will filter for just the first run in which that type of headgear was worn. So a 1 after WS will show you races where the horse had raced the first time after having wind surgery. If you want to look at where horses raced for the first time with any type of headgear, that's just a 1 in the entry box, and that will show you all first time runs for all horses with any type of headgear. Okay, so I'll clear that filter off. Next is the distance travelled filter, which allows you to filter for only those runs where the horse travelled between the selected distances to race. Again, this is a multi-selection filter, and the options are 0 miles, which will be the horse's home track, between 1 and 10 miles, between 11 and 20 miles, between 21 and 50 miles, between 51 and 100 miles, between 101 and 200 miles, between 201 and 250 miles, between 251 and 300 miles, and then over 300 miles. The draw filter is next, and that allows you to filter for those races where the horse was drawn in the selected stall. The options are grouped in ranges, where you can choose from all, 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 16, 17 to 20, or 21 plus. Note here that if you choose any of the selections other than all, races which did not start from a stall will be excluded. The final horse filter is the trading filter, where you can include prior runs where each horse either dobbed, where each horse's in-running traded price on Betfair was at least half of its starting price, trobbed, where each horse's in-running traded price on Betfair was at least a third of its starting price, or both. Okay, so the last set of filters to take a look at now are the race filters. As with the horse filters section, there are 8 different filters to allow you to narrow down the form. The first section is the Match This Race filter, where you can match today's course, today's race type, similar distances to today, today's going at the time the race guides were published. You should note that if the going changes between the race guides being put online and the start, you should avoid this filter and use the specific going filter. Today's class, today's course direction, today's number of runners, which is within 25% on either side, runs with today's trainer, and runs with today's jockey. The second set of filters match prior form lines to today's race type. This is another multi-selection area where you can choose between all race types, turf only, all weather only, all flat, which includes both turf and all weather, chase only, hurdle only, NHF only, or all jumps, which includes chase, hurdle and NHF. The third filter is for selecting handicap races or non-handicap races. The options are all races, handicap races only, or non-handicap races only. Next is the number of runners filter, which allows you to view prior form lines where the field size belongs to any of 6 groups. This is another multi-selection filter where you can choose more than one option at a time. The next filter looks at the official going of the race and lets you filter prior form lines based on 7 types of turf going and 3 types of all-weather going. That's heavy, soft, good to soft, good, good to firm, firm and hard for the turf races, and slow, standard or fast for the all-weather tracks. The next filter covers the class of the race and allows you to filter the prior form for the class of that particular race. Here you can select between all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. As it's a blue checkbox, you can select any one of those or all of those. Next is the distance filter, which allows you to include and exclude prior races based on the distance of the prior form line. These are grouped into 10 different filters that can be multi-selected, allowing you to cover almost any range of distances. Finally, the last filter is based on the characteristics of the course the prior runs took place on. Again, this is a multi-selection filter, and the choices are either all, easy, galloping, undulating, sharp or stiff. Okay, so that covers all of the different filters that can be used on the race guides, from time filters, horse filters and race filters. I hope you found it useful, as it's an extremely powerful tool which will help you get under the skin of the form.